What's up, guys? Welcome to Operation B, the podcast. I am your host, Jamie Thurber, and I am here to take you on a journey of deepening, of expansion, of understanding more about who you are and why you're here and how to operate in an optimal way that allows you to do what you want to do, feel how you want to feel, take care of yourself truly, and support everything that your heart desires. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the podcast. This is Jamie, your host here at Operation B. Wherever you are, I hope you're having a beautiful day. Today, we're going to dive right into a complex topic that comes up often. And what I mean by that is it's just more common, unfortunately, than we realize it is. And it is, you hear lots of things around parents, meaning our parents fucked us up, or our parents did this to us, or I have daddy issues, or there's just a bajillion excuses that people will use. And most of the time it's like they're laughing off trauma or laughing off something that they're not or have not put time into changing or healing. Meaning, here's the deal. As you guys know, with me, I believe in being a good human being. I also believe that when you're a grown up, you have to take self-responsibility for the way that you interact with other humans and through the whole world, whether that means it's at work or your personal relationships or just the stranger you see at the gas station. I believe that if we all took more self-responsibility for our actions and our words, that the world would be quite a better place. Unfortunately, this isn't really taught as much as it needs to be. I think a lot of the conversation is had around just a lot of excuses being made, right? Like a lot of excuses constantly. The blame game is always happening as to why I'm this way, or I'm like this because I have ADHD, or I'm like this because my mom and dad were not there when I was a child. I'm like this because I got traumatized in a car accident. Like, in some of these are all very legit things. Let's be real. Very, very legit things. When you are an adult human, it is now your responsibility to do something about said things. You are either choosing or you're changing. That was a big, powerful thing that I learned many moons ago, back in my get shit done phase of life. But it is what you're not changing, you're choosing. Let that sink in for a minute. What you're not changing, you're choosing. Okay? So the things that are going on in your world that you don't like, you got to ask yourself, what can I do about this? Because what I'm not changing, I'm choosing. Right? That's a big piece of responsibility. And that's why most people avoid it, because it's scary. It puts the pressure, or not the pressure, but the job on your plate, when in reality it is on your plate. So I was talking with a client, I don't know when it was, but anyways, a while back, and we were talking about therapy and adjustments and the reason people are the way they are. And I remember I've always had this gift of being able to see things from a higher viewpoint. When I say that, I mean, I'm looking at it from above, and I can make a lot of sense out of why people act the way they act or react the way they did, or, I can understand really well why things occurred or unfolded the way that it did. Some say that's like a Libra thing. I don't know. I feel like it's like my superpower, but because of that, at a younger age, that meant I let everybody get away with everything. I let men treat me really poorly and didn't think anything of it. I let bosses treat me very poorly. I let family members treat me very poorly. I think the family members thing, honestly, was even still happening up until like the last year. But I did that because I could understand and see so clearly why their behavior was the way that it was. And so that justified it to me. So part of the conversation is talking about where these things come from, right? Or identifying that these things are a part of what we're doing, or it happened because of XYZ thing, and this is the reason I am the way that I am. But when you recognize that what you're not changing, you're choosing, it's no longer a blame game, right? It's no longer, well, my mom did this to me, or my dad did that to me, or my brother did this, or my boss did this. I've always been so good at looking at the big picture and understanding very clearly why everybody in the situation behaved and reacted the way that they did. Like I could see why, and I would feel empathy for them, and it allowed me to allow them to walk all over me, really. But what ended up happening was so many instances in every aspect of my life, I let people get away with things they never should have because I understood why they were acting that way. I can think about that to the beginning of me liking boys. I can think about that to the beginning of my work experiences, even at 16 or 13 when I was babysitting or any of those things. I can think about that in my family with certain extended family members and things like that. Just because you understand why someone acted the way they acted doesn't mean that you have to make an excuse for it. And that also has to be the rule for you, for yourself, friends. So if you have these personality traits or responsive patterns or whatever they are as a result of the way you were raised, or as a result of your previous marriage, or as a result of an abusive relationship, that sucks. And even if you did not plant the seeds, you now have to still tend the garden. It's your job to tend the garden. My client and I were talking about this and how it's just not something a lot of people talk about. It's also not a commonly handled. It's just not handled. It's overlooked. It's pushed away. It's, oh, well, my parents treat me like this, or, oh, she's that way because her dad was always traveling, or he's that way because his mom and dad didn't communicate. Like, okay. And we're adult humans. And so if we want things to be different in our worlds, and we want to have better relationships, and we want to feel better about ourselves, and we want to do, name the thing, insert thing here, it is our responsibility to tend to the garden. And if you don't like what's in the garden, rip that shit up and plant something new. But no one else is going to do it for you but you. That's really the way that it goes. So often, this is the conversation that's missed. This is the thing that no one wants to say to you. Gosh, if I had $1 for every time I had to be in the situation where I'm saying the thing to people that everybody else is freaking avoiding, I'd be a millionaire. But if that's part of the reason why I'm here, then that's part of the reason why I'm here. So how do we do this? What do we do? I think a lot of it is recognizing where you're placing blame and making excuses, and just accepting that this is just the way that I am, and especially if there are things that are harming you, or things that make you feel down, or things that make you feel not great. Like, those are the things that I want you to get used to, taking stock of those things and then asking yourself, if I don't like insert thing you say about yourself, if I don't like that, what can I do about it? What can I do about it? And that's the crazy piece. You can. Most of it you can do something about. Even if it's a medical diagnosis that you can't get rid of, that's uncurable, you can do something about the way you're handling it, the way you're navigating it, the way you're treating it, the way you're talking about it, the way you're living with it. Like, we do have so much more control than we realize. But the thing is that looking inward, as we talk about a lot, is much more complicated and scary, and not what we're taught to do. We're taught to scour the internet, to ask every doctor we know, to ask every professional we know how to handle XYZ problem. We consult the tarot cards, we read the horoscopes, we call a psychic, we talk to every girl we've ever met in our entire lives, hoping that she's going to tell us something that makes us feel good about it. This is what we do instead. You know how much time and effort and heartache could be prevented if you just learned that when there's one of these things, you need to slow your fucking roll, look inward, and be honest with yourself. And sometimes that takes a while, and it looks at self-reflection, and it looks at analyzing it and being observant. But you have to want things to be different. It's those patterns that I just described that keep people stuck. It keeps people bitter. It keeps people unhappy. It keeps people name thing they don't like about themselves. And that's how it goes. And like, that's the piece of the puzzle where if we could just for a moment stop to realize what we really do have control over and what we don't, anxiety would go down, worry would decrease, sleep would improve, appetites would improve, physical health would improve because we'd have more time to focus on exercise and stretching and yoga and all the things. Here's the deal. I am not perfect at this. I'm not saying that I'm perfect at this, but I am saying that this is something that if you're wanting to figure out where to put your attention, this is it. This is where we put our attention. It really truly is. And it should be forever. It's an ongoing conversation that you're having forever. It's not like, okay, well, I looked at said thing in my garden and I decided, oh, well, that's not mine. So I said, never mind, I'm just not going to look at it anymore. Instead, I'm going to focus on this other thing. No, it's looking at it and giving yourself grace, like taking stock of what's going on, taking stock of what's played a part in who you are and how you are, and not being judgmental about it. Like, it's similar to the conversation we recently had here on the show about IFS, internal family systems therapy, and no bad parts. It is, which we'll link the episode below, but it's about that conversation of, wait a minute, what if instead of condemning whoever did me wrong, or that terrible job, or that car accident, or that part of myself, instead of condemning them, what if instead we were like, okay, I see what you're doing here. This is what this is, and this is how this goes, and I understand the part that all of this played. What do I have control over? Right here. Right now in the world, I'm not going to go deep into the weeds on this, but right now in the world, a lot of people are realizing how little control they have over the narrative of the nation or the world, right? And here's a quote that I've said a million times, and I'll say it again, and it is, change happens and starts around the dinner table. What I mean by that is, no matter what your belief system is, I don't care, and we're not going to go there, but I believe that whatever thing you're desiring in the masses, whatever thing you wish was different in the masses, you need to embody that and live it every single day. It comes back to integrity. It comes back to your own self-belief. It comes back to being true to yourself and being a real, honest, good human being, okay? Because the things that we can control are how we interact, how we contribute, how we behave. That's what we can control. So this whole conversation of self-responsibility about things that have happened to us in the past that may have molded our current situation also apply to taking self-responsibility in the culture, in your neighborhood, in your family, in your business, in your anything. If you take responsibility for how you want to show up, what you think is important, that's the ripple effect that makes big change. That's the ripple effect that causes influence in a positive or negative, but we want to do it on a positive way, in other people. That's the way you change the world. It starts here. It always will. It always will. If you believe a certain thing very strongly and you decided instead of being mad about it or whatever, you chose to live by it, embody it, be an example of it, think about the change that can create. Also, think about the weight that lifts off of your own shoulders, because we're no longer blaming anyone else for anything. It's a lot of wasted time and energy on blaming other people for things. A lot of wasted time and energy. Very unnecessary. And that's the thing that makes me the most sad. Honestly, it's the thing that irritates me the most. When you see me these days, and it's kind of always been that way, but I have become so wildly protective of my energy that when a situation arises where I see that my time was wasted, I have a visceral response to that. I feel it physically. Do I love that I feel it physically? I sure don't. And what I know of that cue, as we may call it, or that piece of information my body's giving me, we need to do less of that. You need to check that situation, because it feels very, very strongly inside of me that the way I choose to operate is that I don't waste much of my time and energy, because I don't have a ton of it, right? That also requires me to have a little flexibility. I can't be pissed off every single time that somebody did something the same time that I did it and it was quote unquote a waste of my time. So we can't necessarily go there. But at the end of the day, it goes back to self-responsibility. It goes back to maybe you didn't plant the seeds, but it is now your job to tend to the garden. End of story. This is one of those episodes that's going to be short and sweet because I want you to listen to it more than once, because it's going to take more than once for this to really digest and sink in, because that's how it goes. So with that being said, I believe this is a very important message. I believe this would be very impactful for many people for many reasons. If you enjoyed this message, please share it with someone that you love or someone you care about. Share it on your socials. Tag us. We would love to see that. It helps get the message out and helps create more of that ripple effect that you know that I love to help with, so we can make more good and more positive shifts in the world to a productive, self-responsible place. As always, thank you so much for being here. If you have not left us a review for the show yet, please do that. If you have not hit the subscribe button, please do that, and we'll notify you every time that there's an episode. We do have some fun things coming up. So stay tuned, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to Operation B, the podcast. To support this message and to support the show, please make sure that you like, follow, and share the podcast wherever you enjoy listening. And be sure to leave us a review on iTunes. Thank you for being here, and see you next time.